Our passage has Jesus describing himself as the Good Shepherd. This is one of the I am statements that is in the book of John. It is a one of those. It's a group of set of statements that kind of it's found throughout the book where Jesus sort of describes himself. And this passage is very interesting because it very much deals with kind of the end of Jesus's ministry, using this sort of imagery of a shepherd with sheep. Now, oftentimes in our kind of culture, which it doesn't kind of work around these animals, we kind of get this impression of sheep and shepherding that isn't exactly accurate. Namely, we tend to think of livestock as not necessarily being the most intelligent creatures out there. When the reality is that sheep are actually surprisingly smart. They are able to recognize human faces and even kind of remember them up to 2 years. They're able to differentiate between callings, different calls, and even recognize the shepherd's own voice. So there is this kind of thing of where shepherds are able to actually lead flocks from being from the front because of this, because they can kind of give those commands and everything. And so Jesus is kind of example here, especially when he's talking about how, as the shepherd, he knows his sheep and his sheep knows him. This is an image that people at that time really would have gotten. But the real point here, what establishes Jesus as the Good Shepherd, is this idea of sacrifice. It is this idea of self-sacrifice for the flock that he is in charge of. And that is something that would have been a little bit onto the people who are hearing, because the idea of a shepherd giving their own life for the flock is something that really would not have made sense at that time. I mean, obviously there is the idea of self-preservation, but also if we're talking about like trying to protect the flock, actually, a shepherd who sacrifices his life in one situation to save the flock is ultimately dooming that flock to greater turmoil and death later on by just not being there anymore. But Jesus in this case is emphasizing that this self-sacrifice is why he is able to be the Good Shepherd. And the reason why he is able to be this level of self-sacrificing for his own flock is because of the difference between him and a human shepherd, which is namely the fact that when he gives his life, he also has that right to bring it back up. This is, of course, talking about the crucifixion and the resurrection. So what can we kind of take away from this? What is really being said here? Well, we are a part of this flock. We are a part of this flock that is the followers of Jesus. We are that flock that Jesus said that he has of other sheep, or at least most of us, that have been kind of brought in. And what that means is that we ourselves are following Jesus as our leader, as our shepherd, as who he is. And part of that is going to involve this very intimate relationship where Jesus is willing to give his own life for us, and has given his own life for us, and also knows us on this sort of intimate level. But going even beyond that, we ourselves should be emulating this to some degree. We should be trying to be good shepherds of the people around us. We should also be bearing this kind of understanding of the people that we are responsible for, that we are looking over. And also be willing to go to that sort of level of sacrifice for them, of being very self-sacrificing for them. And in doing that, we can, both obey our Good Shepherd Jesus and the practices that he taught us, while also being good shepherds ourselves. Amen. And now I'd like to invite you all to join me for our last worship song today.